it shines. In the same way, your worth is not created by another's opinion. It is inherent, unshakable, eternal. To depend on validation is to live as a beggar when you were born a king. This hunger for approval is dangerous, for it can never be fully satisfied. No matter how much you are praised, the ego will always ask for more. It is a bottomless pit. The soul is free because it knows no such hunger. It rests in its own fullness, whether others see it or not. Ask yourself, why do I crave recognition? Is it because I have forgotten my own light? The one who truly knows their essence has no need to prove it. Like the sun, they shine whether eyes are turned toward them or not. The way back is self-acceptance. Sit with yourself in silence, without distractions, and feel the life within you. Realize that you exist, and that alone is proof of your worth. When you learn to validate yourself, you are no longer enslaved by the opinions of the crowd. You are free. Ego resists change because change threatens its identity. It clings to what is familiar, even if the familiar brings suffering. The soul, on the other hand, moves like water. It adapts, it flows, it transforms. To fear change is to fear life itself, for life is nothing but change unfolding. Consider a river. If it refuses to flow, it becomes stagnant, foul, lifeless. Yet when it surrenders to movement, it remains fresh, alive, and pure. The same is true for your life. The more you resist, the heavier you become. The more you surrender, the freer you are. Fear of change often hides behind excuses. I am not ready. What if I fail? What will people think? These are not truths, they are chains. The ego wants safety, but the soul wants growth. Growth only happens when you step into the unknown. Ask yourself, how many opportunities have I lost because I was afraid to change? How many times have I chosen the comfort of misery over the discomfort of transformation? The answers will reveal the cost of fear. The way back is courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move despite it. Every time you embrace change, you expand. You discover that what you feared was only a shadow, and beyond that shadow lies your freedom. The ego is never content with equality. It must always be higher or lower, better or worse. When you feel superior, pride takes over. When you feel inferior, shame consumes you. Both are masks of the same illusion, the belief that worth can be measured at all. Look at the sky. Does the sun compete with the stars? Does the moon feel inferior because it does not shine as brightly as the sun? Each serves its role, each is complete in its purpose. Similarly, your essence is not meant to be compared, it is meant to be expressed. Superiority blinds you with arrogance, making you deaf to wisdom. Inferiority chains you with self-doubt, making you blind to your own light. Both keep you trapped in the same prison, the prison of comparison. The soul is neither above nor below, it simply is. Ask yourself, what am I trying to prove when I act superior? What am I hiding when I feel inferior? In both cases, it is the ego seeking identity through others. The soul needs no such game, for it is eternal and immeasurable. The way back is humility. True humility is not thinking less of yourself, nor thinking more of others. It is knowing that each being is a unique expression of the same infinite source. When you see this truth, superiority and inferiority dissolve. Only unity remains. Ego is obsessed with control. It wants life to move according to its plans, its timelines, its desires. When things go differently, it resists, complains, and suffers. The soul, however, knows that control is an illusion. Life moves on its own intelligence, greater than any personal will. Think of a storm. No matter how much you try, you cannot stop the rain from falling. You cannot control the winds, but you can find shelter, you can adjust, you can flow with what is. Life is the same. Control is not mastery, surrender is. When you cling too tightly, you suffocate the flow of existence. The ego is like a fist always gripping. The soul is like an open hand ready to receive. To live in control is to live in fear. To live in surrender is to live in trust. Ask yourself, how much energy do I waste trying to force life into my design? How much suffering do I create by resisting what already is? The answers will reveal the cost of control. The way back is trust. Trust that life has an intelligence beyond your understanding. Trust that even in chaos, there is order. When you surrender, you do not become passive. You become aligned. And in that alignment, you discover true power. The ego loves to replay the past. It clings to memories, regrets, and wounds, weaving them into an identity. This happened to me. It says, therefore I am this way. But the soul is never bound by the past. It is fresh in every moment, untouched by yesterday. Think of a snake. It sheds its skin not once, but many times in its life. If it refused to shed, it would die. In the same way, you must let go of the past, or you will suffocate in it. Life is movement, and the past is a chain that anchors you to stillness. The past cannot be changed, but it can imprison you if you keep carrying it. Every time you dwell on what could have been, you miss what is. The soul is alive here, now, not in memories. Ego feeds on yesterday, but the soul blooms today. Ask yourself how much of my suffering is real and how much is simply a replay of old pain. Do I keep wounding myself with the same memory, again and again? These questions shine light on the prison you've built. The way back is forgiveness. Forgive yourself, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. When you forgive, you cut the rope that ties you to the past. You become light again, free to walk into the present moment. Ego loves trophies. It builds its worth around success, accomplishments, and titles. I am what I have achieved, it says. But when achievement becomes identity, you are trapped. For what happens if those achievements fade? What happens if you fail? Suddenly, you feel worthless. Look at a child. Before it achieves anything, before it earns a degree, before it gains recognition, it is already full of life, already worthy of love. That same truth remains in you. Achievement may decorate your journey, but it does not define your being. Chasing achievement is like chasing the horizon. No matter how much you run, it always moves further away. The ego never rests, always demanding more. The soul is free because it knows it is complete before doing anything. You are not here to prove yourself. You are here to express yourself. Ask yourself, who would I be if all my titles, possessions, and achievements were taken away? Would I still know my essence? If not, then you are living as your trophies, not as yourself. The way back is presence. Celebrate your achievements, but do not cling to them. Let them pass through you like the wind. When you know you are whole without them, you achieve not to prove, but to express, and that brings joy instead of exhaustion. The ego fears silence. In silence, all its masks fall away, and it must face itself. That is why it constantly seeks noise, distraction, and business. The soul, however, thrives in silence. In silence, you hear the whispers of your true nature. Think of a lake. When the water is disturbed, you cannot see its depth. But when it is still, it reflects the sky with clarity. Your mind is the same. Only in silence can you see the truth of who you are. Business has become a modern disease. People fill every moment with activity, as though silence is dangerous. But silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is the space where you reconnect with life itself. The ego runs from it because silence exposes its illusions. Ask yourself, can I sit quietly for 10 minutes without reaching for my phone, without planning, without distraction? If not, then the ego is in control. True freedom begins when you can sit alone and feel complete. The way back is practice. Spend time each day in stillness. At first, the mind will resist, but with patience, silence will become your greatest friend. In silence, the ego weakens, and the soul awakens. Ego is always fighting reality. It wants things to be different than they are, different people, different circumstances, different outcomes. This resistance creates endless suffering. The soul, however, accepts what is not as resignation but as wisdom. Imagine standing in the ocean, trying to push back the waves. No matter how strong you are, you will tire and fail. But if you surrender, if you float, the waves carry you. Life is no different. Resistance is suffering, acceptance is peace. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means seeing clearly without denial. Once you accept what is, you can act from clarity instead of anger. Ego fights reality, soul flows with it. Ask yourself, how much of my pain comes not from reality, but from wishing it were different? How much energy do I lose fighting what cannot be changed? These questions reveal where resistance lives in you. The way back is surrender. Whisper to yourself, this moment is as it is, I accept it fully. In that acceptance, something shifts. Peace enters. From that peace, true action becomes possible. Desire and purpose are not the same. Desire is about what you want, purpose is about what life asks of you. Desire burns quickly like firewood, it flares and fades. Purpose is steady, it nourishes like a river flowing endlessly. Most people chase desires, mistaking them for their true calling, and so they remain restless. Desire is rooted in the ego. It says, I must have this, I must achieve that. Purpose is rooted in truth. It whispers, this is why I exist. One leaves you hungry even after fulfillment, the other fills you even in sacrifice. Look at your life. How many times have you achieved something you desired, only to find emptiness soon after? Desire promises happiness, but never delivers it fully. Purpose, however, does not depend on outcome. It gives meaning even in struggle, fulfillment even in pain. Ask yourself, am I chasing what I desire, or am I living what I am meant for? Do I wake up to satisfy cravings, or do I rise to answer life's call? If you confuse desire for purpose, your path will always feel unstable. Purpose does not shout, it waits. It is not always glamorous, but it is always powerful. When you find it, even ordinary acts become sacred, desire fades with time, but purpose deepens with every breath. One distracts you from yourself, the other reveals who you truly are. Failure is one of the most misunderstood teachers of life. People run from it as if it were poison, yet it carries the medicine of transformation. You may fear failing, but what you should fear more is remaining the same, untouched, unchanged, untested. Growth never comes in comfort. It comes in falling, breaking, rising again. The fear of failure is not about the event itself, but about the image you hold of yourself. You are afraid of being seen as weak, of losing face, of confronting your own limitations. But if you never face those limits, how will you ever move beyond them? Every great transformation is written in the language of failure. The seed fails as it cracks open, but that crack births life. The sculptor fails as he strikes the stone, but that strike reveals beauty. What seems like destruction is often the beginning of creation. Ask yourself, what did you learn from your last fall? Did you simply carry the shame of it, or did you uncover the lesson? If you fear failure, you will play small, avoiding risks. But if you embrace it, failure becomes your ally. Do not chase perfection, chase growth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. To ignore failure is to ignore life's most powerful teacher. To embrace it is to walk the path of transformation. Most people not to share, but to assert. They wait for their turn to talk, not to understand. In this rush to express, they forget the deeper art, listening. Words fill the air, but wisdom enters only through silence. The one who listens learns. The one who only speaks remains trapped in his own noise. Listening is not passive. It is a discipline of presence. To truly listen means to set aside judgment, to quiet the mind, to open the heart. But the ego resists. It wants to be heard, to be validated, to dominate. And so real listening dies in the noise of endless talking. Think of the people around you. How often do you feel deeply heard? Rarely. And that is why being a true listener is powerful. When you listen, you create space for truth to reveal itself, for healing to happen, for understanding to grow. Ask yourself, do you speak to be right? Or do you listen to discover what is real? Do you drown others in your voice? Or do you allow silence to show you what lies beneath their words? The wise know that speech is easy, but listening requires strength. A life filled with words may impress, but a life rooted in listening transforms. To listen deeply is to touch the soul of another, and in doing so, you also hear your own. In the endless chase for more wealth, more status, more recognition. Many forget the simple truth: without gratitude, even abundance feels empty. You may achieve everything you dreamed of, yet still feel restless, because the heart that does not know gratitude can never be satisfied. Gratitude is not about settling for less. It is about seeing clearly what is already here. A breath, a sunrise, a meal, a friend, these are treasures. But when the mind is enslaved by comparison, you overlook them. The ego always whispers, not enough, not yet. Gratitude whispers, it is already beautiful. Look at your life now. Are you not already living in the blessings that once seemed impossible? Yet how quickly the mind moves on, always chasing the next thing. Gratitude is the pause that reminds you life has already given more than you notice. Without it, you live in poverty no matter how much you own. Ask yourself, what would change if you began each day by acknowledging what is already here instead of lamenting what is missing? What if you carried gratitude like a lamp in darkness? Wouldn't every step feel lighter, even in difficulty? Gratitude does not stop you from striving, it purifies your striving. Instead of chasing from emptiness, you rise from fullness. You create not to fill a void, but to honor the gift of being alive. Gratitude turns every moment into wealth, and every struggle into a teacher. Without it, life feels like a prison. With it, life becomes a celebration. Most people walk through life as if tomorrow is promised. They postpone dreams, delay growth, and tell themselves, one day I will begin. But life is not endless. Time is the most precious currency you own, and it is silently slipping away with every breath you take. To live without awareness of time is to live in illusion. Think about it. How often do you waste hours in meaningless distractions, as though you have an infinite supply of days? You plan for later, forgetting that later may never arrive. Death is not a tragedy, it is the one certainty of life. What makes it tragic is when you live unprepared, asleep, thinking you had forever. When you become aware of time's fragility, life becomes more vibrant. Every moment matters. You begin to value presence over possessions, truth over appearances, growth over comfort. Suddenly, arguments feel less important. Grudges become foolish and gratitude becomes natural. Awareness of time cleanses you from trivial pursuits. Ask yourself, if today were your last day, would you still waste it on doubt, fear, or hesitation? Would you still complain, delay, and run from responsibility? Or would you rise with intensity, love deeply, and live fully? To live as if time is endless is blindness. To live knowing that time is precious is awakening. Do not wait for tomorrow is a lie. Life is asking you to live now, this breath, this moment, this heartbeat. Everything else is uncertain. At the root of all ego lies the fear of death. Ego knows it is temporary, fragile, fleeting. That is why it clings desperately to possessions, relationships, and identities. But the soul does not fear death, for it knows it is eternal. Think of the seasons. Autumn comes, leaves fall, and winter arrives. Yet spring always returns. In the same way, life and death are not enemies but partners. One gives way to the other, and the cycle continues. The soul rides this rhythm effortlessly. When you fear death, you do not truly live. Every moment is shadowed by the thought of losing it. But when you embrace mortality, you live fully, deeply, without clinging. Death is not the end, it is a doorway. Ask yourself, am I living fully today, or am I waiting for tomorrow, assuming there will always be more time? The truth is, no one knows how many breaths remain. To waste them in fear is the greatest tragedy. The way back is awareness. Remember death not as a curse, but as a teacher. Let it remind you that every moment is precious. When you live with this awareness, ego loses its grip and the soul shines through. When you look closely, you will see that all your struggles, all your fears, and all your suffering are not coming from the world. They are born within you. The ego builds prisons of pride, fear, and illusion, but the keys have always been in your hands. You are not your past. You are not your achievements. You are not the restless voice that never stops speaking in your head. You are the presence behind it all, the awareness, the life itself. Stop running. Stop hiding. Face yourself. There is no enemy outside greater than the one inside. And when you face that one with courage, with honesty, with stillness, a miracle happens. You rise. Not someday, not tomorrow. Remember this, life is not waiting for you. It is moving. Every breath is a gift that will never return. Do not waste it in fear, in regret, or in running away from yourself. Stand firm, take responsibility, and embrace the fullness of this moment. The path is not easy, but it is real. It will demand everything, yet give you more than you could ever imagine. Beyond fear lies freedom. Beyond ego lies soul. Beyond suffering lies awakening. So rise, not as someone who is chasing the world, but as someone who has come home to themselves. Rise now.